So basically what Komprise does is it's software that works across these any file and object storage. That's what we focus on. And it works across them through standard protocols. So, just like you and I, we don't need an interpreter right now because we're both speaking English, right? And, file systems are like that. They speak certain languages. That's what a protocol is. And, the standard languages are NFS, SMB CIFS, and in the cloud, the object protocol, and Amazon by default, S3 has sort of become the standard for object. So Komprise talks those three protocols, NFS, SMB, and S3. So any storage you might have, it could be a NetApp array, it could be an EMC array, it could be a Windows file server, it could be a cloud filer from Amazon, EFS, or anything. And Komprise connects to all of them through these standard protocols, and it shows you all the data that you have. It shows you how much data is actually being used, how much isn't, who's using it, what kinds of data do you have, how fast is it growing, how much it's costing you, and all those things. And then you can set your policies on how you want to manage data, when you want to archive data or copy data or move data, migrate data. And then Komprise shows you how much you'll save, and then it actually does the data movement. So it's analytics, it's data movement. But the unique thing is that normally if somebody comes in and moves your data, the approach has been, okay, I'll take care of your data. Just come and ask me when you need anything and I'll give it to you, right? That's the usual tendency, but that means it's in the data path. It's an invasive solution. Mm-hmm. And what we've done very differently is we're completely non-invasive. We're outside the data path. And that's very difficult to do, but that's the problem we have solved, because that's what puts the customer in control of their data. So if you move data from a NetApp through us, you look at the data through the NetApp. You don't have to come to Komprise to see it. You will see it as if it's still on the NetApp, even if it's sitting in the cloud, and we sit behind the data path. And the data that we move to Amazon, you can go into Amazon and use it there, and you don't need to come to Komprise to get it. So we keep native access to your data everywhere, and we keep the customer in control of their data. We don't get in the way, and no storage is in the way either. Yeah. So we're eliminating that lock-in mindset that actually is kind of the core of this industry right now.
Yeah, and that's an important point, because of course, if we go way back in time, these standards were created so you wouldn't have complexity. Somebody said, NFS, this is the answer. And then a few years later, there came SMB, and then, S3 came later. And then now we have another abstraction because Microsoft Azure has a different object protocol and Google has a different one. So it sounds like what Komprise is doing is it's kind of being the interpreter of all these languages, in one place.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's interpreting all of them. It's moving the data around because, as all this data, a lot of people say data has gravity. It's because data is heavy. It's not easy to move it around, and you don't want to be manually moving petabytes of data around. It's a very painful job to manually do it. The product does all of that because it's a distributed architecture. It adjusts, it moves data as fast as you need it based on the network that you have and the resources you have. It throttles itself back if users are using the storage, so it's non-intrusive. So it's really an adaptive solution. It adapts to your data and to your environment and to your policies, so that all that laborious stuff that you have to manually do, it eliminates all of that. You don't have to do the grunt work anymore. You can focus on, hey, strategically, how do I want to use this data in my business? How much money do I want to save? Which options do I want to go to? How do I transform my cloud strategy? You can work on those things instead of how do I make sure the storage isn't too full? How do I make sure the IOPS are okay?
Are you seeing people taking advantage of things like multi-cloud or really doing hybrid in a meaningful way? And if not, what's holding them back?
People are starting to definitely use hybrid cloud a lot, especially in the last year and a half. We've seen tremendous acceleration towards that. Mm-hmm. it's still difficult to really leverage it well, because a lot of times when they think of going to the cloud, they think, oh, I'll create a new storage pool that will be backed up by the cloud. No, that's not very good, because now again, you've created another silo on your site, right? If you create a gateway kind of solution, that's yet another silo. You really want to bridge the cloud and your current storage in a seamless way. And companies are starting to do that. Multi-cloud, we are starting to see that. I think so far, companies have been using multi-cloud more as for different use cases. They might use different clouds, but they are starting to see multi-cloud as a data protection strategy. So we do have customers now that want to replicate data from one cloud to another. So instead of keeping a second copy in one cloud, put the second copy in a different cloud, because it's more resilient. And it's also means they're not locked into one cloud, because that could be the next problem. Is instead of storage lock-in, you get into a cloud lock-in.